This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.
Beers in the Lot is partnered with the Hockey Podcast Network. What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 157 of Beers in the Lot. This week, we talked about the beer league season getting going again. We also got into the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League cracking down on fighting. And we talked a little bit about the fad workouts and workout gadgets that are supposed to help with specific areas of your hockey game. Before we get to all of that, let me remind you that our website at beersinthelot.com has all the information about Beers in the Lot. It has links to our Discord server, it has links to our YouTube channel where we do our live streams, and it has a contact page so that you can get in touch with us. Check it out, beersinthelot.com. Now, let's crack those beers.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
I am well. And you?
I'm doing well as well. Aaron, what are you drinking this evening?
I have a fine Pilsner, a Miller Lite. Keeping it simple. How about you, John? What do you got?
So I am drinking from Kuchu Brewery in Japan, Yazoo Lager. So really interesting brewery. Apparently they do a lot of traditional Japanese brewing techniques and then combine it with European beer making technology as well. So this one specifically is a little bit of a citrus lager, their take on it, I guess. So
all right, Dan.
It ain't bad. I'd have a few of these, so yeah, nice. What about you, Riggs? What are you drinking this evening?
I too have an import. I have Moosehead Canadian Lager.
Good stuff.
Nice.
Can't go wrong with a Moosehead.
Eric and I went international this evening.
Yeah, very international.
Quite so. Quite so.
Mr. Worldwide, if you might
Mr.
say.
Yeah.
You're
Pitbull,
both
Dolly.
Mr. Worldwide. So, what's new? Episode 157. Beginning year 4.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, year 4. All right, cool.
Yep.
Well, fitting because pickup started last night.
Yeah, we actually, for me and John, first time back on the ice since, at least for me, since the summer tournament.
Yeah, same for me.
Been a while.
I felt all right.
I felt tired.
Hands more than anything for me. It was a little off, but it'll be all right.
It comes back.
But each time it takes longer and longer, and it's not as sharp as it was. So, yeah,
It's true.
It'll be all right at some point. The best is someone was talking about somebody who went to pick up, and they were like, "Why do we even invite him? We shouldn't invite him to any of our fun anymore. I'm done seeing his name on the invite list." It was so funny. We were just like yelling, and then on our bench, Aaron, like Eric and I were just harassing people, and I was just chuckling. I was like, "I miss this so much for like the 4 weeks. I just miss this so much." And then we go out in the lot, and actually, the funny thing, Aaron, tell the story in the Discord, our private Discord, about Eric and I and the beer. Please go into that.
Yeah, this was funny. So, John was telling me as we were walking in, actually, like, yeah, me and Eric were talking, and we were like, nobody's gonna bring any beer to this. They didn't mention it in the Evite, so nobody's gonna have any beer. Like you guys are just so mad. Like we're just gonna take matters into our own hands, bring beer ourselves. So you both brought beer. Eric had you brought the Moose Heads and
Coors.
And John, you brought
some Miller Lights.
Some Miller Lights, and there's a Blue Light or two in there, I think, wasn't there? Something
Probably,
like
I'm sure.
Something
and then
like that, yeah.
and then the funny part is I said something to another guy. I was like, yeah, because it was A, Brando's birthday, and B, he wasn't coming last evening. He normally kind of he's one of the guys that handles the brouhaha. So anyway, Eric and I were like ridiculous, needs new management. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
Just bring our own. Enough to share within reason.
Yeah, we were. Problem solvers. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, as we were walking in, I said it to another guy. He's like, "Yeah, I saw that too. I just brought an 18 pack of whatever." And then he was like, "Yeah, I was texting somebody else, and he's like, yeah, I'll bring like a cooler too." So we had like 6 coolers, all had like, I almost think we had too much for the amount of people that actually stayed late. But yeah, it was awesome. I mean, a bunch of problem solvers.
We've had issues before where we've run out of beer at pickups. So
we've had issues where we've shown up and there has been zero beer.
No beer.
There has been rampant issues with that.
Yes.
I'd rather show up and we don't have ice than
right.
I got a chair in the bed of my truck.
Exactly.
I have no problem sitting anywhere and having a cold one. I mean, geez. But like, you're telling me I'm going to skate and then I don't get any beer? Like, what the heck? I'm not a mite. I'm not playing for orange slices in a juice box afterwards. I would like a beer, please. Yeah, it was a good skate. So starting, as you said, Aaron, officially kind of kicking off the year, if you will.
Getting back into the swing of things, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be fine. Be totally fine. Eric's already in the throes of youth hockey season, just fully in it.
Yeah, we had a game on Saturday and we had practice tonight. We have practice the night that this episode gets released.
So do you have Monday, Wednesdays?
No, it'll end up being Tuesday, Thursday. I think the Mondays are when we'll get our full ice ones, so because we have to split with the other 16U team.
Okay.
So yeah, it's good. It's this group is very good to work with.
Good.
Always good.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yep. We were hearing in Discord. Some of the folks in Discord were talking about how things are getting going for them too. So it's starting. It begins.
It begins.
I'm actually excited because you see some of the NHL stuff starting to ramp up.
Yeah,
already.
Man. Yeah. Some of the guys are starting to come back into towns and things, and it's going to be cool here in a little bit.
Yep.
So
I will say that is the one nice thing about social media. You kind of like, especially like a junkie like me, where I'm like, I need my fix a little bit of like something, even if I'm not playing. Like, playing obviously is my number one love, but like I need a little bit of, not necessarily news and rumors, that's not it, but like I'm curious what some of the guys are doing for training. I'm curious what they're doing. I follow Sam Gagne, who's on a PTO with Edmonton. He does like he has a place up in Muskoka, so like a few NHLers are there. I'm always seeing like who's there, who's not, stuff like that. And then they had Connor Bedard was shooting with his new Sherwood stick, and that's kind of big news. Sherwood, I guess, would you say they're back, Aaron, as a current sponsored athlete from Sherwood? Would you say they're back as well?
I mean, I've been using Sherwood stuff for a long time, and they've had the EK line for a long time, actually.
Yeah,
Erik Karlsson as their spokes player. So I don't know. I've liked their stuff for a long time. So yeah, I'll say they're back.
I mean, the only
for
thing
the broad spectrum, and they're back from your perspective. Yeah.
The only thing that's interesting about that is Bedard played his entire junior and youth, from what I could tell, in Bauer, like using Bauer sticks, Bauer skates, and I think the skates will probably stick with Bauer, but the stick changing to Bauer, I don't know. For me, psychologically, that would jack me up.
But like that choice, I mean, that's probably because he was so much into Hockey Canada, right? Like, because they're all Bauer, so
yeah,
absolutely. Like, that's probably a lot to do with it. Also, like, once you get to that upper echelon of skill, like, guess what? The manufacturer of the stick doesn't matter. So
it doesn't as much. It's more just funny.
We were actually talking before the skate. One of the guys you skate with, he was saying that his kid broke his stick and he was trying to tell his dad that he could only shoot with the more expensive one because he borrowed a teammate's, and he said, "I can only shoot with that stick." And
Of course.
I'm
Yeah,
just
that's the way it
thinking,
works.
like, I don't think
Yeah.
that's how it works.
No, it's not.
I've-
It's not.
I've used CCM and Bauer my adult life for the most part, and then when I was younger, I used like TPS and Easton, and we were even talking about like branches a little bit too, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I guess because I haven't really ventured too deep. It's more like a curve for me where I'm like, I specifically need that curve in my head. I'm sure I could get used to it, but the amount that I play, like, it would take me a little while. Unless I get a green biscuit or something and like, stick handle in my, outside.
Cul-de-sac, yeah.
My I don't have
Yeah.
a cul-de-sac, but yeah, I'm on Main Street, sir. Man of the people.
Yeah. Main Street America.
Yeah.
Main Street, Anytown, USA.
I don't have time like practicing my hockey skills because like the last week or so, as you guys know, I fully immersed myself in chainsaw culture.
Yeah, you're a
So-
lumberjack now.
Yeah.
Are you
He's an
gonna go
axeman.
buy?
Yeah.
Are you gonna go buy a bunch of like flannels and stuff, or what? What's
the
the
chainsaw
plan?
I got, it came with two.
Oh,
So,
nice. Yeah.
Perfect.
and one was a pair of like white briefs that I've been wearing nonstop too. So I feel great. Yeah. No, I think I put photos up in the Discord. I'll do it when this drops on Wednesday. I had a tree fall on Monday when we got hammered by storms in the DMV area. But yeah, fucking trees. Those things are the bane of my existence. I'm telling you.
Yeah, we just talk about John's trees on this podcast.
That's
now.
right. Yeah.
We're forestry.
We're a
Yeah.
forestry
podcast.
podcast.
Yeah,
Big
Until
during the
hockey
off-season.
returns.
During
Big
the off-season.
arborists.
Yeah.
Big
Massive
arborists.
arbory guys. Yeah, we love it.
Uh,
Pro arbory. God. No, but yeah, it'll be trying to think. Like it'll be fun to kind of like this year especially. There's a lot of hype around the NHL. Like in a good way. There's a lot of like positive momentum for the league in general. So
Yep.
heading into the season, that's always a big bonus considering like, very early last season there was a few, I wouldn't even say a few, but it was like very major black eyes, which we don't need to touch on. So it's
Yeah.
like, let's start fresh this year. Can we
Right.
kind of we're on a good path.
Well,
Some of the,
There's-
there may be a black eye still
there's
looming.
still-
There's a black eye looming. We don't need to talk about it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
in the
Going back-
desert. Yeah.
well,
No. I wasn't even going there.
Going
Oh,
back
no.
to Hockey Canada.
Yeah, they have a I don't know.
There's
Gosh, I don't even wanna,
still, yeah. We
There's
don't
some
need
shit.
to.
yeah, we don't cover that side of the game. We're a little more lighthearted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also like apparently the KHL Presidente today was like, this is bullshit. I don't like the double HF's agreement. KHL teams and the KHL should be able to negotiate with NHL clubs directly, which that I don't see that happening in the foreseeable future anyway, just with the current state of, the world. So let
Yeah, I
alone the
don't-
double IHF.
Right. I don't know what they were expecting because they've been out of the game now for 2 years and they're going to be out of the game for the foreseeable future. So whatever.
See, and you
It's-
even looked at that, like, not in a bad way, because, like, all of us on the podcast, we're affected very heavily in our area by, like, probably, one of the most, or the most influential Russian hockey player ever to lace up a pair of skates in Ovechkin.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes, in a long line of really great Russian players. And you saw, like, outside of Michkov, like, a lot of teams weren't taking gambles on Russian kids this past draft. Like, they wanted to stay away from it, A, because you can't really scout them very well now, and also, 2, like, you don't see those kids in a best-on-best scenario anymore. You
Right.
don't see them at the U16s, U18s, World Championships for the kids that are playing KHL and age out of the World Junior Championship. Like, you don't see that. So the longer it goes on, the longer that's going to impact them, which sucks because it's a global game. I mean, we're going to Australia, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So I know we kind of said it when they said this was years ago, but I know we kind of said like, I wish the NHL would like actually do a game in like Moscow. But I think part of that was a KHL thing. They're like, no, we don't want those guys over here because we have our own pro league. You know, like clearly, like when they play games in Sweden and Finland, I think those pro teams are a little more, they kind of understand the value of bringing the brand that is the NHL there. They get it.
Yeah, and NHL is nowhere near a competitor to like Liga, and like they're not like the players that are good enough to play in the NHL. They're not going to consider, should I stay at home and play at home? They're going to go to the NHL. Whereas in the K,
younger
the
ones,
Russians a few years ago, at least, it was kind of a toss up. It was like, well, unless you're like super high end elite talent, then hey, maybe staying at home and playing in the KHL is a good path for Russians.
And
I think it was a money thing too.
Yeah.
right, it was a money thing. Yeah,
and it
KHL will pay them.
It was guaranteed money, no tax. So no matter what, you know, now whether players were getting paid or not, that's a different story. But,
Right.
Yeah, because there's a lot of shady stuff you hear
Yeah.
from like ex NHL guys
Right.
and whatnot.
but the deal is much better, right? If you're a Russian born player thinking about coming over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all day. I mean, I think that's a lot of places too. Like, I mean, shit. Even if you're they have like Finnish and Sweden players in the AHL, even like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because
yeah.
like you know, it's you have a really good opportunity because you're very close to an NHL franchise, but also too like you're playing in, you know, a lot of people would say second best. I mean, even though the KHL is very talented, it's a different style, not in a bad way, just like it's right below the NHL, so AHL is very, very darn similar. And it's a very high competitive league, and you can make a really good living. And some of the towns you could live in too, like there's some that are like, okay, I'm not saying I'm going there, but like there are others where you're like, man, I'd love to play there. Like it'd be cool, you know? So like Hershey's not a bad small town.
Dude, you look at all the
I mean,
guys that played or coached there that end up living there.
yeah. I mean, in central Pennsylvania is not a bad area to live.
No, not at all.
It's not that bad.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I love going up there.
Yeah. It's the best. But then you look at some of the other places like, you know, trying to think off the top of my head, like Chicago, Toronto. Then you got Coachella Valley. Like, that'd be awesome. Henderson. Those aren't bad places to live. Not bad at all. Especially when you get to play hockey for a living. That's cool.
Yeah, some places like Norfolk, and
That ain't that bad. Yeah.
No,
it's
that
I'm-
area sucks.
Well, you can see
You're
some
by the
big ass
beach.
battleships. And
yeah,
I love
see
seeing
some
the
battleship.
I love seeing the jet planes. I'll see those bad boys tomorrow. Air
Right.
superiority.
Yeah,
Or have to live in Norfolk.
No, I'm not living there ever.
yeah. That area sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, there's some other. I'm not saying garbage because that's not right, but like, there's some other places like I may go see the game there if I'm enticed, but I'm not going. I'm gonna get a hotel here. I'll drive a few towns over or something to get a hotel. Maybe like I ain't that excited.
Let's take a quick break here to hear about our sponsors.
Even if you're not going on vacation, summer's all about a vacation state of mind. Whether I want to listen to my favorite fishing and beach playlists on repeat and relax, or need some tunes to energize a day of yard work, I love creating my own summer activity soundtracks by popping in my Raycon wireless earbuds. My Raycons have a 32-hour battery life, including 8 hours of playtime, so I can listen to what I want, when I want, for a really long time. They came with custom gel tips for the most comfortable in-ear fit, and Raycons start at half the price of other premium audio brands, but they sound just as good. Create your own soundtrack with Raycon. Right now, Beers in the Lot listeners can get 15% off their Raycon order at buyraycon.com/THPN. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to save 15% on Raycons. buyraycon.com/THPN.
New customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. Bet just $5 and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700 on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. In West Virginia, gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. All games regulated by the West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly. In partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. 1 boost per eligible game. Opt-in required. Max bet $50. 10 plus legal requirement for 100% boost. Eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/baseball terms.
Talk about the Q getting rid of fighting.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
didn't even heard that.
They're not outright banning it. They've just made the rules to a point where, like, if you fight, like, you're not playing, basically.
Mm.
So I don't know what the specific rules are off the top of my head, but there will be no fights, probably.
It's kind of like when they changed some of the rules about fighting in the last few minutes of the game or whatever, then that dried up. I mean,
Yeah.
they got super stringent or super, restrictive on what happens and very punitive. And players are like, okay, well, we're just not going to do that anymore because
Well,
it wasn't worth it.
It's kind of loose language too. So anyone engaged in a fight, like we said, legal, you get an ejection. So I don't know how that's going to be written up on the penalty sheet or anything, but you get an ejection. And then any player found to have instigated the fight will receive an automatic 1-game suspension. The player declared to be the aggressor during the fight will receive a minimum 2-game automatic suspension. So technically, if you're the aggressor and you instigate the fight, you could get a 3-game pop. And
In
then
addition to the ejection in the game. Wow.
correct. Players involved in multiple scuffles. I like how they don't even use fighting.
They said scuffles.
Scuffles in a season will start receiving an automatic suspension beginning with their second fight, in addition to other sanctions. So, like,
Wow.
Now, so
that's
okay.
rough.
It's the Quebec League, right? So it's not known for being
Exactly. They're not as rough and
and-
tough as
right.
the WHL.
right as the Western League, or even the OHL. right?
OHL.
But
Yeah.
but it is interesting that they're, like, really cracking
down. Wow.
down. It's not an outright ban, but, like, you cannot fight.
I think the biggest thing, and I was telling Riggs this before we started recording. So, like, the players that are like your fourth, third line guys on those teams, like, it is to prevent those guys from just being ding dongs when you're playing on a low team in that league. I agree, because we don't need, games stretching out hours long because you can get multiple fights, blah, blah, blah.
Well, it's unnecessary
Exactly. It's just
damage too,
It's
right?
just
Like
dumb.
it doesn't,
And if
doesn't make
you're in
any
the top,
sense.
and if you're a top scorer in that league, you're probably not fighting anyway. Who it does kind of hurt are kind of the guys that are putting up, really good numbers where they're on the draft bubble for, like, let's call it second or first round even, where those players are going to get AHL and NHL looks at some point, maybe not right away. So, like, where over the course of their major junior career, they may have, playing 3 years, have 5 or 6 scraps. So, like, they kind of, not saying they're proficient, but, like, they're comfortable in their own skin to do that. So
Yeah.
now when they go to the NHL camps, when you're, I hate saying it, you're fighting for a spot against a kid who played in the WHL, all of a sudden, like, that player does have a little bit of,
He's got that bullet point on his resume.
but also, like, those guys can do
and he-
other things.
he's going to beat your ass at development
Yeah.
camp too.
Probably.
Like, quite literally.
You can do the thing that is interesting. Like, there are more and more NHL players, like, they train a little bit of MMA or like jujitsu or stuff like that, mainly as like a cross training thing to break up. I'm sick of skating and doing stuff in the gym. So this is just another way I can get something in. But like by doing those activities, you do get a little more like confident in a tussle. But also you can't replicate, we'll just say it, like early in a big game, your teammate gets hit, you go after said player, he goes, "Let's freaking go, pretty boy," and you drop your mitts, and then like you can't simulate kind of that like venom, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like you can't simulate that in a camp or a gym. So that's where it does have a little bit of a
kind of a drawback.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it hurts him. It's more a drawback. I mean, also, but like that's kind of the way the game's going. I mean, Eric and I were even joking. Like, I'd rather see Nathan McKinnon ragdoll somebody anyway, like another player of his ilk anyway.
Yeah,
like I'm trying to think of somebody who would like go toe to toe with Mac, like Leon Draisaitl and McKinnon. They're both big, thick boys. Like, I want to see those guys scrap. Like, that's what I want to see.
But I also don't, because I don't want them breaking their hands on helmets and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I want them on the ice. I don't want them in the box.
Yeah, I do. I fully agree. But sometimes, like those players, I mean, hockey's an emotional game.
Yeah,
it boils over. But like, if I'm going to see a fight, I don't mind seeing those guys do it. I'm not saying I want to see it every freaking night, but like once a season, I'm all in on that. Like, that's great. That's a cherry on top. But we'll see, because a lot of the European kids don't fight anyway. So same thing.
The big question is fighting still a part of the game? Right. So if you're able to make rules like that and still carry on, is fighting still a part of the game?
I think if you don't know.
Right.
Well, I think I would say time and place, but I wouldn't say it's like an integral part of the game. It just happens, if that makes sense. Like, it's not going to be something that maybe.
So I actually agree with that specific wording 100%.
Yeah.
I think that because it is an emotional game, it's probably the most emotional game, that it just naturally gets to that point.
Yeah, right? And I think if you're playing at the highest levels, NHL, AHL, probably the coast to some extent, like, they're not, I wouldn't say they're going to outlaw fighting there, but by doing some of the instigator stuff, I think that weeds out kind of the BS stuff. Right. Like, let the emotional stuff happen, but let's get rid of some of the BS nonsense. Like, let's get rid of that shit. Like, and I still think once a year we're going to get a big kind of brouhaha with a bunch of players. Maybe we'll even get a goalie fight, maybe once or twice a year. And that's where I'm like, for me, that makes me happy. Like, I want to see that, but I don't want to see, kind of
every game,
Marty McSorley type stuff every night. I don't need that. I never needed that.
No. Nobody's ever needed that. Yeah.
Well, some would say yes.
Needed, I don't know. Maybe some have enjoyed that aspect of the game. I don't know. I'm by the comparison to the lifespan of hockey as a sport, I'm a flash in the pan. But you go back 40 years or so, and maybe without that sort of physicality, that sort of the brutality, then maybe the game isn't as popular with anybody. Maybe, I don't know. But this day and age, no. The legendary, videos of these binge clearing brawls and people, hurting everybody, and I think that stuff is amazing. I think it's so cool, but I'd never ever want to see that happen today. Like, I can't imagine wanting to see that happen. It's very difficult for me to think, man, I hope that they clear the benches tonight. I like, for whatever reason, I don't want to see that. I saw that. I saw what was as close as probably we're ever going to see with the Penguins and Islanders, whenever that was, with
the Trevor Gillies nonsense.
The Trevor Gillies crap. Yeah. I saw that, and that was enough for my lifetime. Like that was more than I wanted. I mean, Steen, your team with 6 guys on the bench. That's I don't need to see that. I don't need that. I mean,
Yeah, like once every couple of years, I'm kind of like, that's kind of funny.
it's interesting. It's different, and
I don't need to
it's
see it every
not,
freaking night.
yeah, I definitely don't want it every night. I don't want it every year. But
There's always like a bonkers youth hockey nonsense every year, so I'm hoping by the Q doing that, it cuts down on that stuff. Like, I never want to see like any youth hockey kids fighting. It's just
Yeah.
A, it's crazy. B, it makes me think like, what are your parents saying when you're not at the ring? I've always thought of that.
There's a really good point there related to major juniors, which is, a step or two below pro hockey or NHL, deciding that, hey, we're not cool with fighting anymore because these are players that are young and they are not yet. I mean, the NCAA would say they're pros, but they're not quite yet pros yet. They're not making a full living off of the game yet. So they shouldn't be fighting, and they shouldn't be, taking the blows to the head and wasting development time on that aspect of the game. There is something to that, right? And that flows all the way down through the amateur ranks.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
I agree.
So right, when you're saying like, oh, in youth hockey, there's always a couple incidents a year where kids and parents are going nuts and there's brawls on the ice and like there's crazy shit that goes on, right? That same feeling of that shouldn't be happening at that level could be applied to the rules that the Q is putting into place, right?
Oh, totally, 100%.
Saying that, you know what, we're still a development league. We want our players to be known as the ones that go high in the draft for the NHL. We want players to come to our clubs because of that. So we're going to de-emphasize that aspect of the game, and by extension, emphasize the skill development aspect and the fact that we produce such high scoring players and et cetera, right? So that could be part of it, I think, or a big part of it, I think.
That makes sense to me. I want to go to something you were talking about, John. You're talking about like seeing videos of or the players like, doing all these exercises and so on. And it's like getting on the ice. I don't know about you guys, but my Instagram reels and TikToks, it's just loaded with try this exercise to get more explosive with your put, like when you're crossovers or, like all these exercises and stuff. And
are you doing them?
No, hang on. You were talking about like the players are like jumping into jiu-jitsu and MMA so they can, get a little more confidence, get a break from the tedium and all that stuff. I tell you what, I see those videos and I definitely get a lot of confidence knowing that that's an exercise that I can say to myself, I bet you I could do one of those. That guy's repping it 30 times, but I bet you I could do one. And well, I feel better knowing that I can.
Wait.
Hold
on.
There's a lot of things.
I gotta dissect.
There's a lot of things wrong here. There's a lot of things wrong here.
Yeah.
But okay.
Excuse me. Special counsel would like to jump in with a question. Let me get my cross-examination in really quick. Hold on. So you said I could do those, to do XYZ, whatever. Are you going to do these, Aaron? Now that you have the confidence that you could do that?
I'm never going to do these things.
All right. So I have to do the public service part of this here.
You should do these things.
No. There is no such thing as sport specific exercise. There's no such thing as sport specific training. That is scientifically proven. It is fact. The way you get better at X sport, doesn't matter what you're doing, is just by becoming
a better athlete, right?
A better athlete. And that's in a very general term. So what should hockey players be doing? They should be training very similar to how a baseball player trains, or a football player trains, or a basketball player trains in the gym. It's old school Olympic style lifts. It's finding a hill and running up it and walking down. It's, it's very basic stuff. It's not like, oh, I'm going to push my leg under with a fucking rubber band and all this shit that people try to sell on Instagram or TikTok or whatever.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't work. Because you get on the ice and you're still going to feel the same way you did before. Like,
Yeah,
now,
like,
if you went to the gym and you simply just lifted heavy things and put them down like the commercial,
I picked them up, I put them down.
You do that for 6 weeks and you go get on the ice, I guarantee you're going to feel better.
Yeah, Ronnie
You'll
Coleman,
feel strong,
lightweight,
yeah.
baby. Yeah. Well, a lot of it too. Like if you look at there's a guy at St. Louis, Jeff Lavecchio. He has a cool little Instagram.
He's very good, by the way.
He does a ton of like core and hip mobility and like foot. He's like massive, and it's interesting because you see a lot of stuff like knees over toes, shit like that. He's talked about like your foot strength for hockey players are dog shit for a billion years. And he does like exercises with his like youth athletes all the way up to the pro guys, just like stretching your big toe, then doing the rest of your toes, then you're like shit like that all the time. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who go like, that's insane. Why don't you just take this, specialized band to work on your crossovers and your cross unders? It's like, no. You need.
But you know who else is doing that? The Olympic sprinters.
Exactly.
Right? The guys and gals that are just running for 400 meters all out. Right? Yeah. They're doing the same that same foot exercise stuff. You know why? Because they just need to be a better athlete to be faster. It's all the same shit. So that's my public service announcement on that bullshit social media fad sports specific workout shit. It's all
the best is always the crazy football parents though, or baseball parents. Those are the best.
God. Yeah, they get these contraptions. I saw a thing on Instagram.
These contraptions.
I saw
Goldberg.
It's like the shit from Tin Cup. It's the same shit.
I swear to God, I saw a thing on Instagram 2 days ago. It was like a hitting thing for baseball and softball. And basically it's a rubber band that like attaches on your shoulder and then to your forearm on the back arm in your swing. So if you're right-handed, it's your right, arm, and it keeps your elbow tucked as you come through to make your swing. It's supposed to make your swing like your hands faster through the zone, which is a thing. That's a thing, right?
Hands to the zone, baby.
But
Speed.
I'm like not everybody's body is built the same way. So if I use the rubber band thing, it might work for me, but for you, it may not work. It may actually cause injury because it's not the right length. It's not the right tension, like whatever. So they're selling this thing for whatever money, to get parents to buy it for their kids because, they need to improve their average by like 20 points or whatever. Like, fuck off. Like, you know what you do? Go outside,
hit the fucking balls,
toss a ball in the air and swing. And if you really want to get technical, put your phone in front of yourself and videotape yourself swinging, and then take it to somebody that knows what the fuck they're doing. Well, don't buy shit off of social media.
Guys, we should make a thing. We should make, like the golf clubs that have like the hinges in them or whatever. We should make a hockey stick like that.
Yes.
Flip back
we would. You know what? We would get a yacht.
All right, that'll do it for episode 157. First episode of year number 4. 3 straight years of releasing an episode every single week. And we aren't stopping now. So we'll see you next week on Wednesday. Thank you again for your download, for your listen, for your support, your ratings, your likes, your reviews, your visiting beersinthelot.com/Discord and joining the Discord. All those things that you are doing, please keep doing them. We appreciate it so much. But until next week, Have a good one. See ya.